You know what time it
Time to
is.
stand up and speak your mind. In this elitist jungle, keep the beats alive. Whether yoga or doja that keeps you high. Gotta stay up, cause on the street you die. Time to wake up and see the light. Stop counting sheep, seize your life. Free your eyes and see suns rise on the horizon. Where the street meets the sky. The master's ignorance feeds our master's greed.
Oh, yes. What's going on, guys? I'm coming at you guys on the late night podcast. Man, been working on podcasts tonight, doing all the post work, getting stuff uploaded, and getting stuff going on Spotify. And yeah, let's see what time it is. Ooh, 21:53. Better make this quick so I can get to bed and get my bum up early. But I've been thinking a lot today, and some stuff's been on my mind, and so I wanted to get in and just chat with you guys a little bit about some stuff. So what's been on my mind lately has been about cleaning your own house, right? And taking inventory, taking someone else's inventory. And what I mean by that is, so in recovery, in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, we talk about this idea of taking an inventory, right? A searching and fearless moral inventory of yourself. Searching and fearless inventory. It's step 4, right? Basically, that's about cleaning up your own house, right? So we talk about ownership, right? And taking an inventory is finding your ownership, right? Part of that is writing down. Basically, I'll give you the rundown. So basically, it's a list of folks who you are resentful at, why you're resentful at them, and then figuring out what your part is in that resentment, right? And the process of this is basically an inventory of your shit, right? It's taking ownership for your actions, and it's an inventory. It can be a long and difficult process. There can be a lot of stuff in there in your inventory that's unpleasant. You know, there's a lot of fear involved in that. A lot of folks are scared of their 4th step, you know, and I understand why. I understand. Again, diving into the abyss of your own mind, into the depths of your psyche, and into the depths of your character defects can be painful. It can be scary, and uncomfortable. You know, and then the next step is step 5, and step 5 is sharing that inventory with yourself, God, and another human being. That's step 5. So step 4 and step 5 can be very difficult. Now, I've done this. I've done this a couple of times. The first time I did it, it was not very thorough. The second time I did it was much more thorough. And then the third time I did it, I based it off of the first two, the second one being thorough, and I kind of added to the third time. And then the third time, when I shared it with another human being, I got some feedback, some really good feedback. And that feedback was painful. And that feedback was along the lines of, well, who the fuck do you think you are? You know, you got a rule book, Jason. You got a rule book and about how you think you should be loved. And anybody who doesn't follow that rule book, there's hell to pay, isn't there? And I was like, yeah, you know? And I was also like, who the fuck do you think you are talking to me like that? Nobody talks to me like that. You know? I was told I was a selfish son of a bitch. And who the fuck did I think I was? Wow. And to be honest, I went into that willing, you know, I went into that. This last time that I did it, the most thorough, sort of, I'll be honest again, I didn't finish this fifth step. I got about halfway through my inventory with this last sponsor that I had. I got about halfway through. So I didn't finish. I still have more work to do, but he was the most honest with me. This last gentleman, he was the most honest with me, and I was the most honest with him that I have been. Other than the honesty that I share with my therapist, you know, and my therapist approach is a little bit different than this last sponsor that I had. But I needed to hear that. I mean, that was God's plan for me, was for me to hear that. That was the whole reason, and I believe this, right? The whole reason that I needed to meet this previous sponsor that I had, this previous man who I shared these things with, was for him to tell me those words. Who the fuck do you think you are? And for me to learn about this rule book that I have, these conditions that I have for loving me, these conditions that I place on everybody else in the world. Think about it for a second. Think about your rule book. What's your rule book? You have one. Guaranteed. Oh, I guarantee you have a rule book. I guarantee you have conditions for people loving you. Now, what happens when those people don't meet those conditions, meet those expectations? Is there hell to pay? I mentioned that in a previous podcast, actually. Talk about, if I don't get what I want, I could be a real cunt. You know, I can be really scary when I'm scared if I'm not paying attention. That's that rule book. When I get scared, the rule book comes out. The conditions come out. Oh, you got to love me. Now, that's not to say that there aren't boundaries. There are boundaries to be placed, healthy boundaries. But that doesn't mean, placing healthy boundaries doesn't mean that there's hell to pay, right? That's the ego taking over. That's survival mode taking over. That's arrogance taking over. That's not humility. That's for sure. That's not God. You know, that's the human ego. puffing out your chest, dude. You better fucking love me the way I fucking tell you to fucking love me, or fucking piece of shit. Which leads into, which leads into taking someone else's inventory. Now we're talking about something totally different. And you see this a lot in the world right now. Everyone's taking everybody else's inventory and throwing their rule book at them. And giving them hell to pay if they don't fucking follow those rules. You're going to do it the way I say you should do it, or there's going to be hell to pay. Think about it. Look at the world, the state of the world, right? The left versus the right. If you don't do it this way, there's going to be hell to pay. If you don't do it this way, there's going to be hell to pay. Taking everybody else's inventory but your own. Stop worrying about everybody else. Right? Take a look inside. Clean your house. Is your house clean? Is your house clean in here and in here? Is it? I would bet that if you were so busy taking care of your house that you wouldn't have any time to be taking care of everybody else's house. Right? Because you'd be busy cleaning your shit up, owning your shit, taking your own inventory, looking into the mirror, right? Holding your breath and diving down into the abyss. I promise you there's enough shit in there to last you a lifetime. There's enough shit in here and in here to last me a lifetime. 44 years old, still grinding on that, right? And again, for many years, I didn't do shit about it. Taking someone else's inventory. I noticed this because I had a conversation with someone and we were talking about this idea of cleaning your own home and taking someone else's inventory. And I realized that in the middle of the conversation, I sort of had a moment of clarity and was like, holy shit. And I noticed that about a previous relationship where, so what we were talking about were sort of the difference between offering somebody feedback about how they could or how you see the things that they're doing and how your input may be helpful to them, right? And the intention behind it. And so when you're in a relationship with a friends or family and it's a loving, caring relationship, and your intention is sincerely to help that person out of love, then when you give feedback, it's loving and caring. But then if it switches to taking somebody's inventory and building a list of fucking things and building resentments and keeping score, oh, well, you did this and you said you were going to do this and you didn't do that, and fucking you were going to do then you do that, and then, right? Now you're taking someone's inventory and you've stopped taking your own, right? You've become a victim to what they're doing and you're letting them and their shit affect how you are operating. And now you're taking their inventory. You're no longer taking your own. At this point, it's time to reevaluate the relationship and your position in it. So think about a time when you were taking somebody else's inventory. I mean, it happens a lot. Think about it. You're sitting at a restaurant, and the person over there is these people or person or whatever, they're having a conversation. You overhear something about what they're saying. You don't like or you disagree about what they're saying, and then you look over to whoever you're with and you start judging them and you start talking shit about them and making assumptions about them, about what you're hearing, and you're passing judgment on them. Holy shit, you're taking their inventory. You're taking their inventory, right? And you're judging. You've already decided, oh, well, that person's a piece of shit. Or that person's an idiot. Whoa. Hold on. You know? And then say you do that with your significant other. You do that with your friends. Your friends may be doing it to you. Pay attention to that. Maybe someone's taking your inventory and telling you, throwing their rule book at you. I know because I'm guilty of this. Right? I'm guilty of this. I do this shit. I can do it. I'm guilty. Right? It can happen pretty quickly too. Sometimes. If you're not paying attention, if you're not taking a moment to reflect, you know, and I'll come back to the journal again. This is another great thing about journaling is it gives you an opportunity to tell the story of the person you're thinking about, right? So you get into your journal and you start writing about your buddy. Start taking their inventory. Now, if you're writing this in your journal and you're not giving shit to anybody and you're taking their inventory personally between you and your journal, see if you're taking their inventory. I've done this a couple times with some individuals, some people that I was having relationships with, and as I start writing their inventory down and seeing what it is, it slowly starts to switch into, well, what's my part? Now, I sort of have some training in this area, if you will, through AA. I've practiced taking my own inventory. And I've practiced looking at owning my shit, taking own your shit. And so as I'm going through my journal and I'm taking someone else's inventory, it'll get to a point where it'll switch. And a switch will go off in my head. Oh, hold on. Let me see. Where am I doing? Oh, what am I doing? Oh, this is what I've done. Oh, I didn't place a boundary here. And then I didn't do this again. And I didn't speak up. And I didn't whatever. Oh, okay. You know, Jocko Willink talks about this in his book. I'm hoping you guys go out and get his books. They're really helpful. He talks about this in his Extreme Ownership book. He talks about there was an incident where in Iraq, while he was the commander of his SEAL team and other units were around, and fratricide happened. Fratricide, I believe they also call it blue on blue. Some of you guys might know it as friendly fire. In other words, we killed each other in a battle, right? Americans killed Americans in battle. And holy shit, can you imagine being the commander of men and your own troopers, or even the troopers of another American unit, you guys killed each other. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine being the fucking commander? You know, and Jocko talks about how his initial reaction was to try to figure out, well, whose fault is this? Right? Whose fault is this? You know, and he went to all of his men. And he asked him, hey, you know, whose fault is this? You know? And his men started to raise their hand. Well, sir, it was my fault. If I did this, I could have. Well, sir, it was my fault. If I did this, then I could have. Oh, well, sir, it was my fault. I should have done this. And in the end, Jocko says, no, It was none of your faults. This was my fault. I'm the commander. Right? He went to his superiors and he thought for sure they're going to fire his ass. Right? He went in there and said, this is my fault. I let this happen, and I'm ready to face the consequences for whatever they are. And instead of firing him, they respected him, and they asked him, well, how can we avoid this in the future? And they took steps to fix the things that needed to be fixed to avoid this in the future. And for Jocko, I believe, and I'm paraphrasing a bit, I believe that this was the beginning for him to understanding this concept of extreme ownership. And that's the name of his book, Extreme Ownership. Right? Own everything. Own it all. I struggle with this today. Owning it all. It's difficult. It can be really challenging and really difficult to own every aspect of something. Right? I mentioned before that making a baby takes two, and it does. Right? But how do I own everything? Own every part of it? Well, I chose to have sex with this woman. I chose to put my seed in this woman. I chose to not use protection. I chose to do those things. I chose that stuff. All on my own. Nobody put a gun to my head and said, you need to impregnate that woman or get shot. Nobody said any of that. I didn't have to do that. I could have used protection. I could have, insisted that she be on birth control. I could have exited the situation, but I didn't. I made all of those choices. I did this. This is my doing. I did this. And now I have to make that bed and sleep in it. And now I have to keep that. I have to clean my house. I can't take anybody else's inventory. I can, but I'm not in control of anyone other than myself. Other than using some force, physical force, or some sort of psychological manipulation. I'm not in control of you. You're in control of you. You decide how you receive me. You decide if you want to continue to listen to the words I'm saying to you now on these podcasts, or if you want to turn it off. You decide. Or you could take my inventory and you could try to clean my house. You could try to get me canceled. You could try to silence me using manipulation or force, right? Think about cancel culture. That's what cancel culture is. Manipulation and force. You're cleaning someone else's house. According to the law, I have the freedom to speak my mind. As long as I'm not libeling somebody, telling lies about them, as long as I'm not screaming fire in a room or threatening violence, I'm pretty much allowed my opinions. You can believe the earth is flat, or you can believe that the earth is a globe. But there's a lot of silencing going on. People taking everyone else's inventory and trying to clean everyone else's house. Think about it for a second. So one of my main things, one of the main goals in my life and one of the main missions I'm on, one of the things that I am working on, try. There's that word try. Did we talk about the word try? Let's talk about try real quick. Here, try to get the tape out of my hand. Oh, no. You got the tape. Try to get the tape out of my hand. Oh, no. You got the tape. Try to get the tape out of my hand. Aha. I said, taste the soup. He says, where's the spoon? Aha. There is no spoon. See what I did there? Try to get it. No, you got it. Try. Try is an excuse. Built into us. It's built in. It's an excuse. Ponder that for a moment. Try to get the tape. Yoda, that's some Yoda shit right there. Do or do not, there is no try. That's real. And how many times have I said it in this podcast up to this point? I just said it. I work on, I practice, I attempt. These are verbs, not excuses. Attempting is actually a verb. Practicing. So in my life now, the practice that I am working on is becoming aware of that point where I'm starting to take someone's inventory and I've no longer cleaning my house and I'm working on cleaning yours. That's a big step, right? Another thing I'm working on is asking somebody before giving them feedback. Someone's talking, blah, 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 bitching, whining, complaining, or whatever. Maybe they're not bitching and whining. They're talking about their situation. And sometimes we want to just go, hey, you know what, dude? You should fucking this and that, and you should, and guess what? It would probably be better if you did this. And maybe all of those things that you have to say are valid. I'm sure they're valid. I'm sure they're true. A lot of times I don't realize what it is that I'm doing, and it takes somebody else to tell me before I really, someone to say, hey. But what I'm working on now is, hey, I have some thoughts on that. Would you like some feedback? Yeah, sure, Berg. What do you got for me? Well, here's how I see it. Oh, cool. Okay. Or, hey, I've got some notes. I got some notes for you. You want them? Nah, man, I didn't ask. Cool. Well, when you feel like it, let me know. I got some notes. I've got some thoughts on that. I've got some ideas. It's an interesting concept. It's an interesting thing. It takes practice. Honestly, it takes practice. Practice that. First, think about the concept first. Cleaning your own house versus taking someone's inventory and trying to clean up theirs, right? First, put that in your brain. Then look back on some of the situations where, right? Take your own inventory. During your inventory, start taking your inventory. Who am I pissed off at? Who did me dirty? Okay, well, what's my part? What does it affect about me? Does it affect my self-esteem? Does it affect my romantic relationship? You know what I mean? What does it affect? What part of you is it affecting? And then what part did I play? Did I allow that to happen? Did I contribute to the situation? Was I being a cunt? Own it. See how you can own it. Figure out own every part of it. Own the entire part of the situation. From the moment you said hello to that person, right? Own the whole situation. Well, I walked up, I said hello. And then I asked them out. And then we went out on a date. And then I saw some red flags, but decided, you know what, I wanted to get laid anyway. And then whatever. Own it. Clean your house. And then Figure out how to not do that in the future or work towards not doing that in the future. And now you've begun to sweep up your own mess, right? Now you're starting to remove all the plastics from your ocean before they sink down into your abyss and clog up your abyss. Clean your own house. Stop taking everyone else's inventory. Work on you. Focus on you. And by you cleaning your house, how you show up in the world as a responsible adult, as a responsible, productive citizen, you will make a difference, right? By you doing that, you will show up differently in the world. You'll show up differently for your kids. You'll show up differently for your family. You'll show up differently in the relationships that you are in, right? You'll show up differently. And when each one of us cleans our house, if we all clean up our own houses and focus on ourselves, the world itself will get cleaned up. It'll just happen, automatic. You won't have to go clean everyone else's house because they'll be too busy cleaning up their own. And you'll notice it. Look at that person. That person cleans their house. I like that person. And the more we connect with others who clean their own house, the more these other people will realize, hey, I need to start cleaning up my own shit. Right? Like the person at the dog park who doesn't clean up their dog's shit. Right? Pick up your own shit, man. Get a shit bag. Pick that shit up. Take it over there. Wrap it up. Throw it in the place where it belongs. Right? Take your shit. Take it to the journal. Take it to the therapist. Take it to a sponsor. Right? Maybe you're not an alcoholic. Maybe you're codependent. You can go to Codependence Anonymous. Maybe find a group. You know, there are things out there that you can do, right? Clean up your house. Maybe go volunteer and be of service. Go be of service, right? Go out there and help the homeless or poor communities, people who actually need some help. Help them clean up, right? Be of service instead of just telling somebody what to do. Right? Go out there into the community, shut the fuck up and do something. Just running your mouth, right? Is your toilet clean underneath the seat? Or is it all fucking disgusting? Right? Clean your own house. Stop taking everyone else's inventory. Work on yourself. Man, and you're on to something. Get in those comments. Like and subscribe. Get in those comments. Check me out on Spotify. Check me out on YouTube. Right? But get in those comments. Tell me about a time when you were taking someone else's inventory. That's what I want to know. I want to hear about the time you were taking whose inventory. You don't have to name drop. We're not talking about that. But just say, hey, you know what? I was taking someone's inventory. Matter of fact, Berg, I've been sitting here listening to your podcast, taking your inventory, wondering who the fuck you think you are getting on a podcast. I am nobody. I'm nobody. I'm a lost soul. There's no rule book to this thing. We're on a spinning ball of chaos, floating through the freaking galaxy and the universe. We're nothing. I'm nothing. Nothing really special about me. I think there's something special about me, but that's my ego. Think on it. Tell me about how you're cleaning your house, right? Share something about you cleaning up your own house, right? Share something about how you're taking others' inventory. And share something about how maybe you're going to work on modifying that behavior. right? What are some of your resentments? Don't be a victim, you know? Be a survivor. Work on here, right? Love you guys, man. Peace.
You know what time it
Time to
is.
stand up and speak your mind. In this elitist jungle, keep the beats alive. Whether yoga or doja that keeps you high. Gotta stay up, cause on the street you die. Time to wake up and see the light. Stop counting sheep, seize your life. Free your eyes and see suns rise on the horizon. Where the street meets the sky.
The master's ignorance feeds our master's greed. Open your mind and read some chapters.